Welcome to the I Am Jen Wilson, the Healing Rebel podcast. I am delighted to have Jean Fenwick back on the podcast. If you
Mhm.
don't know anything about Jean yet, we did a podcast. It was episode 175, so it was only about 15 episodes ago. Um, we go back and listen to that episode as well because Jean shares a lot of her backstory and how she got to be where she is right now. So we don't need to cover as much of that today. We can get right
Yeah.
into the good stuff. So welcome back, Jean. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you, Jen. It's an absolute pleasure to be back again. And I looked at my diary this morning to see so that I did that podcast with Jen, and it was way back in March, and it seems like yesterday, but in a way it doesn't because a lot's happened since then. And it's just so nice to connect with you because, we shared a lot of experiences together. And, I love being in your company and I haven't seen you for a wee while. So this is a lovely opportunity to just catch up with you as well. And yeah, and if anybody gets anything from this chat, then that's a bonus, eh?
Well, we
Yeah.
will, because you are the wise one.
At that. Can I wear that? Can I wear that label comfortably? Well, yeah, I'm starting to think,
I've noticed in
just
your
experience it.
I've
What was that,
noticed
Jen?
I've noticed in your social media you're wearing that hat more. You're talking more about that life experience and stepping into that wise woman energy.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm definitely feeling a lot more comfortable in my own sense of identity now as a 67-year-old woman who's been seen and done a lot, made a load of mistakes along the way, and then have, I suppose, tried to learn from those mistakes for myself. And now I'm in a position where, I see, my purpose in life really is passing on to women some of the things that I should have known then. But more importantly, also some of the things that I'm doing today that really help me stay on that path towards, being in my best self and, still creating my best life for myself. I started out in that journey a good many years ago, as you know, from that first chat, but it's all about here and now and feeling comfortable being me. And I suppose when you first mentioned that wise woman thing to me, I think we were having a lunch together, it kind of didn't really sit right. And I thought, it's like, who me? It's, that old sort of, I don't like the term imposter syndrome because I don't think there's a syndrome. I think once we start to syndromize things and put those types of labels on it, I think that just leads us down the path of being unempowered. And I'm about empowerment. And we have to take charge, of our own lives. So the minute we give that power away to, this strange thing like imposter syndrome out there is something that I've got, which means it has to be difficult because that's something that's really negative in here. No, 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 no. But that sort of feeling sort of landed with you like, who me, really? Oh, I don't know. But I saw it as a compliment, and I took it, I take it now as a compliment. And I think for women, that's sometimes really difficult for us to take compliments, isn't it? You know, we'll take all the negative shit, beat ourselves up with all the negative crap. And we can stay in that, in that energy of just being, having low self-worth and low self-esteem because that feels really a lot more comfortable to us sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a societal norm as well. Like I remember
Mhm.
growing up, if somebody was exuding any kind of confidence, particularly women, who did she think
Yeah,
she is? Like, it was very quick and not
absolutely.
always intentional.
Yep.
Like, quite often it would be a parent or a grandparent saying, "Oh, you're getting a bit big for your boots," or
Yes.
something along those lines. It was like, know your place, but they would never necessarily say that to a boy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But especially for women. Absolutely. And especially for us when we're little girls. Totally nailed it. And a lot of the work that I do with women is helping them to rewrite those old stories from the past that we pick up when we're little. You know, we don't even know that they're there until we start to unpack them. You know, this deep sense of unworthiness that so many of us have, you know, to a little degree or a larger degree, and it varies at different times of our life. And it's also contextual, isn't it? Because, you know, when and I suppose what I mean by that is, you know, when we met that morning for lunch, if you would have said to me, you know, you've got a bit of low self-worth going on, Jean, I would have said, get out of here, you know, I'm feeling great, I'm on top of the world, you know. So I was in a really, really good place then. But then something like you give me a compliment, and then, you know, taking a look at how that really made me feel and thinking, "Ah, God, wise women, I don't know if is that actually, you know, do I really want to be that? And why is this not feeling comfortable for me? Is what I really needed to look at." And so what we're 5 months on from that, and thank you very much for giving me that label, because you gave me part of an identity then to step into. But first, you know, we have to have a look at what is that identity, and is it something that I really want,
Mhm.
you know? Um, and if it's something that I want, and this is a lot of the work that I do with women that come to me, if this is something that I want, how can I embody it?
Yeah.
You know, who do I need to become? You
Yes.
know, who do I need to really become to be that person if that's who I want to be? Um, and so for me, it comes down to, you know, that old adage about start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen Covey's, you know, Habits of Successful People. I love his work. You know, start with the end in mind. And if you've got a vision for for your end result, your end goal, then joining that bridge from the dots where you are now to actually get into that end goal is really what I'm all about as a coach, because coaching is all about looking forward and helping you create that best life. So for me, the challenge for me then is to look at, okay, if I'm going to embody that wise woman part of me, it's not all of me, you know, I've got other parts of my identity. Thankfully, there's the mad witch as well. There's the mad witch and the bitch as well. She comes out to play. You know, we've all got all of these different parts of us, haven't we? But, you know, if I want wise women to be part of my identity, that I had to then, I suppose I hadn't even realized. So, not purposely have I been putting out content to, it's not been a conscious thing.
Yeah.
Isn't it interesting how our unconscious mind then guides us just because we've made that decision? Hey, do you know what? I'm okay with that. You
Yeah.
know, I'm
Yeah.
going to own that. Low self-worth. Feel sorry for swearing.
Never
You can
apologize.
edit that bit out. Um, do you know, I'm just gonna be okay with that. And then what I think must have happened, Jen, is on a subconscious level, you know, some of the content that I've been putting out has been possibly more authentic in that way, because I feel more authentically okay with that identity. God, that's interesting. Really made
Yeah.
me think. That's what I love about my chats with you. They really make me think.
I'm delighted somebody appreciates them. Not everybody does. A lot of
Mm.
people are like, "Oh, just stop with your questions."
You know, I love it. But then we're both coaches, so questioning is so much about it. Questioning is so much about what we do.
Do
And
you
I love, sorry, you go.
Sorry, I was gonna say, do you think maybe some of the resistance to it is, again, as a society, we don't have elders in place to help lead the community, which I think is a big part of what's missing from society, is people with with lived experience being able to support the next generation as it moves up.
Absolutely. And especially, particularly for women,
Mhm.
because really we are, I suppose, you know, women of my age and, you know, and into their 70s, we're the first generation that are coming through. We're boomers, aren't we? But we're the first generation that are coming through that have had a life that hasn't just been as a homemaker, the traditional stay-at-home mums that, even up to the sort of late 60s, early 70s, that was very prevalent still in our society. My own mum didn't go out to um, back to work after having us. She worked before she had us, but didn't go back to work until my sister went to secondary school, and then she took a part-time job. So even then, my mum was, like 21 years older than me. So in that generation down, then we're the first women that are coming through that have the opportunity really to embody a new identity that
Yeah,
says, you know, we have a different message, and a stronger message, but who we can be, who we're allowed to be as women, because we're given permission to be anything we want these days, aren't we?
yeah. I think sometimes I think for some people the messaging gets confusing because yes, you can be anything that you want to be, but that doesn't mean that you can be everything because
Totally.
a lot of women of my generation are absolutely frazzled because they're trying to be the best
Yes.
full-time as well as
Yeah,
running a business or being in a high-powered full-time corporate type job and also being the social butterfly and being the this and being the that. And they're trying to be everything
yeah,
instead of what do you actually want?
that is absolutely spot on. And it's interesting too, because I'm working with a client. In fact, we had our last session last night, who is exactly in that situation.
Mm,
She's a really, really capable woman on the top of her game professionally. Got two kids. The youngest is 18, so he's going through that transition into the next phase of his life. So, but then she runs a business, and she's absolutely totally frazzled. And when she came to me, she said, I'm really, really stuck. I'm really, really stuck. And so many women use that expression when they reach out to me. I'm stuck, you know. And when we looked at it, she was exhausted, absolutely, totally exhausted, because, as you said, Jen, she was just trying to do all of the things all of the time and beating herself up if she wasn't doing everything perfectly, you know?
mhm.
And it's interesting because I had to laugh this morning when I went onto my social media, because I usually do a quick bit on social media before, I start with the rest of my business day, just to get it out of the way so I don't waste time. And I noticed it was National Relaxation Day. It just made me giggle because I thought, yeah, I'm going to get to a post on that now, because it was so fresh in my mind from this client last night. Because what we were talking about was, because here's what she said to me in her first session. She said, I don't have time to relax.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't have time for any self-care. There's no time left for me.
Mhm. So many women.
She's in the healing profession as well, would you believe?
Mhm.
She
Yeah,
knows all this stuff. She knows all this stuff. It's so easy, isn't it? It's so easy to get pulled into and dragged into that. Do
yeah. There's a
energy of every day has to be full on.
Mhm. There's a lot of that in the wellbeing wellness industry of practitioners getting burnt out, bad backs, whatever, because they're giving, 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 and they never take time to receive.
Yes, absolutely. And it's all about balance.
Mhm.
Balance is really what we're all really challenged to bring into our life. It can't be all one thing or the other. There has to be a balance in everything that we do. And so trying to find for her, a sense of how could she achieve some sense of balance was really important. I mean, first of all, she had to realize that, and I went through a coaching technique with her, that she realized that if she didn't do anything, she was going to end up totally burnt out,
Yeah.
you know. And burnout isn't just overwhelm. It's when it tips over from overwhelmed to not being able to do a thing, just being totally incapable of doing anything in life. And I was there. So, when I talk about burnout and overwhelm, I absolutely. I'm talking about lived experience. I had 3 months out of life to recover from my burnout. Um, but then it's a case of, and I know this is a lot of what you do. Um, it's about it's not about saying, it's not about thinking I have to have a specific amount of time set aside necessarily to relax. Now, of course, we do that when we go to, a yoga session or a Reiki session, or we choose to go to a spa, or we choose to, carve out that time for our well-being. But we can't be in a spa every single day or every week or every month. Well, certainly not on my budget, but who can? But it's how can we take care of ourselves on a day-to-day basis, bring in relaxation into our day-to-day, making it really easy. Because for this client, it was, oh, that's too hard for me. I can't relax. It's too hard because I have to carve out time to do that, and I don't have any more time in the day.
Mhm.
But looking at how can we change that and reframe it to, how can I weave relaxation into my life? How can I weave it into my day to day so that every day, as often as possible, I'm bringing myself back to center? And that's how I do it for me, because in the experience I've had, I love going on retreats. I love doing all of that stuff. But for me, my life is busy, it's hectic. More importantly, my mind is hectic. I've got a busy mind. Um, I'm really curious, and, I have to find out everything. I have my mind really switching off. And so mindfulness for me really has probably been the best tool for that, Jen.
Yeah.
Those mindful moments.
Yeah, I'm definitely similar because like you, very busy mind, and I don't like to be unless I'm when I go on my holiday, I will just read, and I will
Ah,
read fiction, 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 fiction for the whole. I got through 4 books when I was away the last time because that's what helps me relax and need something to distract the chatter in my mind. I
yes.
can just sit and look out the window and enjoy the scenery, but then my mind starts wandering off really, really quickly. Whereas if I read, I can be there for hours and
Yeah.
just switch off. And some that relaxation, learning how to relax has been such a challenge for me over the last years because I've tried the meditation, I've tried all the different types of meditations and gone to different
Yes.
types of classes. And some of them work and some of them you just don't have time. Like you're saying, you
Mm,
just don't have time to go to that class every single
yeah.
week at that time or whatever it is. So yeah, I'm very much like you, and that's what I teach as well. Where can you find that snapshot to just sit and take a breath?
Yeah. Exactly. And what I did with her is look at where in her day can she weave that in. And it was simple things like when I'm putting the kettle on to make a cup of tea, you know, is things like focus on what you're doing in that moment. Actually, those moments are the moments I do my bum crunches. The kettle on, because I try to weave some exercise into my day as well. So, I'm big on habit stacking these days. So it's all about, how can you habit stack that in? So how could she habit stack in just tiny wee moments of relaxation, just to focus on, the sound of the kettle boiling, just
Uh-huh.
to think about, the sound of pouring out the kettle into the cup, actually looking at the steam rising, maybe smelling the tea or whatever coffee, whatever she's making, just smelling it and connecting in with her senses. And that can take, seconds. It doesn't even have to be a minute. It's not even taking 5 minutes out. It's just, you know, that term mindful moments,
Yes.
and remembering to bring those mindful moments into our life as much as possible. And that's where I found the biggest joy is being able to come back, And here's the thing too on that I really have to say, I think, because this is where my client was challenged on it. And she was saying, but oh, so I asked her the question, So when I share that with you, because I could tell from her face was sort of like, oh yeah, that makes sense, but will it work for me? That sort of,
Yeah.
yeah. And I said, so how does that land with you? How do you feel when I say that that's possible for you? And she said, well, you know, I know it all sounds, it sounds really good sense, doesn't it? It sounds really good sense, but it just somehow I don't know why I can't make that easy. I can see the sense in it. If I
Yeah.
can't find the big time, find the little time. I can absolutely see the sense in it. But inside, there's a resistance here to,
Yeah.
but why can't I just take that on board and make it easy for myself when I can see the sense in it? Clever woman, this is where she was. And thankfully, I've been through that experience myself as well because I know what that feels like. To have all the evidence there saying this is good for you, to know it's the right thing, but then finding, yeah, but it's hard for me. I can't quite do that. And so, you know, thankfully I've got the answer to why that happens these days. Well, I think it's my answer. It might not be, well, it's right for me. And that's all that matters to me today. If it's worked for me, then I'll share it with other people. But this is the answer that I had for her. I'd be really keen to find out what you think about this and what else you would recommend in that situation. Yeah. So, yeah, so she knows it makes sense. It's hard for her. It's something that, and she needs it. She needs it to make, she really needs this, or she's going to burn out. So, I said to her, the only reason that it's feeling difficult for you at the moment is because you've got a habit of not doing it. Your natural habit is to not to do that. This is new for you. And anything that's new is going to feel difficult. It's obvious. Doesn't mean to say there's anything wrong with you. In fact, it means you're working perfectly well to have that resistance to something that's new.
Yeah.
That's good, it's and that's sometimes where I find clients that come to me with things like weight loss issues or any issue, they find it hard in the beginning. It's bound to be hard in the beginning with anything we try to do because we've never done it before.
Yes.
And we've got that old pattern running in our subconscious mind that's going, oh, I don't know about that. I quite like just doing it the way we've been doing it. That's what's called comfort zone.
Yes.
A comfort zone. And the way that you get out of it is to just accept that it's not going to feel comfortable, but that payoff, that end goal has to be kept in mind, So it's, I use this term these days called boss your brain. You've got
Wash
boss your brain,
your brain. Yeah.
boss your brain. I only started to use that because somebody sent their daughter to me. She was a teenager. And, I was explaining some concepts on anxiety to her, and I said to her, look, you've got to boss your brain here. And she went, oh, and it was light bulb moment for her. And she stepped into it and she did really, really well on the rest of the program I had her on. And then I thought, well, that's exactly what we have to do when we're trying to rewrite a new habit. We have to become the boss of that old brain that has got us into that old negative habit. So accept that and just realize that to rewrite any old ingrained pattern is not going to happen overnight. So, the stuff with habits, start small, be consistent, don't beat yourself up if you don't do it. It's progress, not perfection. And, all of the stuff that sits around habit forming is where it's where the answer really is, you know, and and be accountable, and be accountable and be accountable. And what she wanted was a deadline. She didn't know that when she came to me, but she wanted a deadline
Yeah.
because, she said, what next? And I said, well, you're free to go. And she said, no, I don't want to be. I need to be held. I know that I need to be held accountable,
Yeah.
you know, and that's, I think, where, coaching really can help. to keep people on that path when, the stabilizers are off. They know how to do it, but they just need to be kept on that path until they're really just flying on their own, and that new habit is properly ingrained with them, so they feel really comfortable and they wanna do it because they know it's the right thing for them,
Yeah.
because they want it for themselves.
I think that can take a lot longer than we think, 'cause some people will say, "Oh, it takes 3 days to create a new habit." Other people have said 21, other people say 90 days. But even after 90 days, you can still let things go and
Yeah,
then go, "How did I do that?" Like, it can take longer than that, but it is having whatever accountability is for you, whether it's just a Post-it note somewhere reminding
yes,
you to do it,
yeah.
scheduling it into your calendar,
Oh,
however works for you, put it on your to-do list, breathe.
yeah. Put a forward memo to yourself. That's one that I use for me. Are you still doing this? Have you I think what happens, you see, is that we have incredibly short memories, and we start out with really good intentions in the beginning, and we keep going for a wee while. But then, life gets in the way again,
Mhm.
and we can fall off that path that we're on. We can fall off it so easily. And that's okay, because that's just life. It's not meant to be done perfectly. It's not meant to be, the perfect, I do everything absolutely perfectly. And, it's not that. It's difficult. And there are times when we will naturally go off an ideal path for ourselves when we're dealing with big life stuff, when we need to take a break from all of that, creating a life that we really want, because we just need to cuddle up and coorie up and dive in under a duvet for a week or so. Those times come in our life where, in terms of relaxation, we've got to just step back and really just chill out. Um, and then if we learn to do that, as we re-emerge, then we're able to step back into, that re-emerging is stepping back into, right, okay, we can go again, you know. And so the relaxation piece is almost, those mini mindful moments is still that re-emerging constantly throughout the day.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. One of my clients, what we've been doing is she comes to me once a month for one of my 3-hour, like, mini half-day retreat realignment
Mm.
session, and we'll do part of it's coaching, catching up, what's going on, and then we do massage and Reiki and a bit of access bars just to help
Brilliant.
get her a proper space of relaxation. So she's getting all the benefits of those treatments, and I did say to her, you're gonna have to do other stuff in between our sessions, because
Yes.
it's brilliant that you put that in the calendar for the month, every month to the end of the year. Brilliant.
And she's showing up brilliantly.
She's
Mm.
showing up every time. But it's the wee bits in between in the first couple of months. Oh yeah, oh yeah, I meant to. But then as the accumulation of the work that we were doing together on that monthly started to set,
Mhm.
was then able to get those
Yes.
incre tiny wee bits added in. And it's just, "Oh, I've been remembering to do my lymphatic drainage this month." Awesome. You're doing it
That's
you're having
exactly it.
so, and sometimes it can just take a wee bit of getting used to feeling relaxed, because,
Yeah.
like we were talking before we started recording, about how I had been holding that tension in my body, and I didn't
Yes.
realise until doctor said, "You're all right," that I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I haven't."
Sigh.
That
Mm.
became really unfamiliar, and then I found myself seeking out things to make me feel stressed so that I felt quote unquote normal again, because I had been
Yeah.
accustomed to this feeling of tight, 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 that the
Mhm.
relaxed was like, "Whoa, this is weird."
Yeah.
And then I noticed that I
Doesn't feel
was,
normal.
why am I seeking out all these news stories and all this information that's just making me tense? Like,
Mhm.
oh, I need to stop. I need to go back to finding the things that actually make me feel good again. And
Yeah.
even though I teach this stuff, I'm
Yes.
the journey of it, because sometimes there is this umbrella of waiting for information from the medical community that can take a couple of years to actually get from start to finish.
Absolutely. And that journey that you were on, it was really unfair. If you look at it, who would want that for anybody to be in that position? It's only understandable that that tension would be there in your body with something big weighing over you. But yeah, in the same way, that feeling of it almost becomes okay to feel not okay. And then when that lifts, it's the relearning to
Yeah,
be in that position. Yeah, absolutely. That totally, totally, demonstrates to me it's the same thing, isn't it? That we fall back into patterns of behavior, ways of feeling, and then we have to relearn again and recommit to getting out them. I'm just going to have to lean down, Jen. I forgot to put
plug your
my
charger in.
battery, forgot to put my charger in, and I've just had a low battery. Well, maybe you'd want me just to fizzle away. Bye. I'm out.
Absolutely
I'm out
not.
of here.
Absolutely not.
Out of here. But no, I'm still here.
That's good.
Oh gosh, no.
Microphone battery as well. I'm like, that don't run out on me. I charged it
No.
up just before we came on, so it should be good.
I can hear you loud and clear. Yeah. Oh, that's all good. Yeah, so National Relaxation Day, it just brought that this morning to me. It was like the universe giving me a sign because I just, last night been doing that session. It was an evening session. It was just like, oh, this is meant to be. So of course it's gone out to her as well today. But that's good. It's all
What
good.
are what are your favourite relaxation techniques or
Well, for
habits
me,
for
yeah, well,
you?
for me, I use my breath, just as the easiest, quickest ways. I use my breath, close my eyes, and I just come back to center, and I tell myself, all is good, everything's fine, I'm okay, it's okay. And that's my quickest one that I just do for me. Um, but I've got lots of different ones that I do, I suppose. And one I love is one that I was taught to do donkeys decades ago by somebody I worked with. And that's just to get outside, ground yourself, kick off your shoes, get into the grass, and look up to the sky and just connect in with whatever's happening up there and just get a sense of how small, how insignificant you really are. Those are the sort of quick, sort of mini things can do within the day, as well as the sort of mindful moment things. But for a deep relaxation, just going away somewhere with a book and
Yeah.
lying in the sunshine and just letting the sun and not having an agenda at all. And what I've learned over the years is that planning those lengthier breaks is really, really important. And I worked with this woman once, Jen, who we both had the same job. She's always on holiday. It seemed that way. She had the same she had the same entitlement as me in terms
Yeah.
of days entitlement, but she always seemed to be away on holiday. And I asked her, come you're always away? And she said, well, I plan my holidays in advance and I make sure I do them around bank holidays and other breaks. So I elongate my holidays and I actually maximize the amount of time that I'm away by doing it like that. And I thought, that's so easy. Why did I not think of that for myself? But then I realized that I wasn't prioritizing holidays for me. So it would always be that badge of honor. Oh my God, I've got 5 days left. I've got to take them before the end of the year or I'll lose them type scenario that I used to get into when I was in corporate. Um, yeah, so today, what I do is, I mean, I've got my holidays planned up until September of next year. you
Brilliant.
know, I've not got them all booked because some of the flights aren't actually out for the places I want to go. But I'm just in a fortunate position that I've got time to book that now, and I've done it. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to my next trip. 3 weeks time, I'm off, and
Where are you off
then I'm off to Tenerife
to?
in three
Very.
weeks time. I was meant to be going to Sicily,
Mm-hmm.
but my hotel cancelled all of the rooms. Oh,
Nightmare.
Jen. This is a story. This is a story for mindset work, actually, if you want to hear it. They cancelled all of my rooms.
Wow.
So we're going for our 30th wedding anniversary. So it's a big, um, big holiday where, we wanted to make it really sort of special. So I'd carefully chosen the town I wanted to be in and the hotel I wanted to be in. We'd spent hours researching the area. We knew the restaurants we'd eat in, the gelateria just round the corner, all of this. We had it all. And then I had to call to say the hotel's cancelled and we couldn't get anywhere else there. So we're going to Tenerife and it's great. But my husband, when that happened, said, let's book somewhere to go this weekend because you spent a lot of time working that out and you didn't get in a paddy fit and you handled it really calmly. Let's go away for the weekend. So we then decided we'd go to Paris that weekend and the
Nice.
flight was cancelled
What?
because of the IT outage. So we didn't get to Paris all in the one week. Our flight to Sicily was cancelled on the Tuesday, booked the flight to Paris on the Thursday, and then it was cancelled on the Friday when we were due to fly out. And do you know what my husband said to me when we were at the airport
Mm.
just before I think I might have lost it a bit? He said to me, he said, Jeannie, because that's what he calls me, he said, don't let this spoil your happiness.
He's so wise.
I think he should have the wise man label. He said to me, Jeannie, don't let this spoil your happiness. And I just went, oh my God, And I thought, you're absolutely right. Because in that moment, it could have gone one of two ways. And I thought, no, you're absolutely right. I'm not going to let this spoil my happiness. And yet we had a great weekend, and we just booked somewhere else, and everything's fine. But that really, I suppose, is the basis of who I really try to be these days. I don't know if that's wise woman or what, but you know, not letting anything spoil my happiness and accepting life on life's terms as it comes along
Hmm.
and doing the best I can with what I'm given. And yeah, not letting it spoil my happiness. Not that you can be happy, you've got big stuff like death and, really big losses and things like that going on, but you've got to feel the pain and just go through it. And it's not about being Pollyanna either. It's not saying, oh, yeah, everything's fine. But it's just about, yeah, accepting the disappointment, you know,
Yes.
feel disappointed, feel really frustrated, you know, and just accepting those feelings as being valid, but then choosing so to allow them to spoil the rest of my weekend, day, or do I choose just to flip it, you know? And I don't know where that came from, but these days I can flip it a lot more quickly. But sometimes it helps to have somebody on your side saying, don't let this spoil your day.
I
Oh,
suppose it's
anyway.
because you've had the years of intentional practice.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. I could not have done this stuff. I could not
Yeah.
have done this stuff, certainly not in my 30s or 40s, or even, well, probably starting to get into my 50s. It started to get easier because I was practicing it, because I knew that when I practiced this type of mindset work on myself, this type of, accepting life on life's terms and learning to do that, then my life got better. I got better.
Hmm.
Things outside didn't get better. Shit would still happen and good things would still happen. But I felt better. Just, suppose it's not sweating the small stuff, but also not allowing the bigger stuff to totally rock you to your core or, get into, what I call lame game,
Yeah.
that victimhood.
Hmm.
Because as a young woman, I sat on my pity pot far too often, just life wasn't fair. It's not fair. Why does it happen to me? you know, that was me. That was my identity back then, Jen. That was my identity back then. That's just who I was. And so, we're talking about change at the level of identity. That's not the identity I choose for myself. It's not the energy I want to be in today for myself. And it's what I I attempt to, I see it as my purpose is to help other women embody that energy as well. Of just being able to create the best life that they possibly can, irrespective of what's happening to the outside world, because it's an inside job. It will always be an inside job because, yeah, the only thing we really can control at any time are our own actions and behavior. We
Yeah.
can choose to have a feeling. The feeling we might not be able to choose the feeling when it comes up, rather. The feeling comes up, but we do have a choice over how we react to it and we respond to it. That's what I learned through some very hard lessons. And now I think because I've been doing that, reframe for a long time, it gets easier with practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It's always interesting talking to you because I don't really think about these things until you make me question them. Yeah, it's great. Love my Jen chats.
I love my Jean chats as well. It's always insightful and inspiring.
Yay.
Working with your clients, what is your favourite technique at the moment to use with your clients?
Well, it depends on what they're coming to me for, because some clients will come to me for, something quick, that they just need to maybe get clarity on a goal and, set an intention for what they want to happen and create an action plan to get there. So, there's those sort of easier sessions, but the clients that come to me for longer, deeper work, the ones who maybe are really stuck in their life and they're not sure what the future looks like, and they know there's something really holding them back and they can't move on, that maybe do a 12-week initial, course with me. Then within that course, I use timeline therapy in the middle of that course to help them get rid of the past, to get rid of the negative behavior that results from the stuff that's been stopping us living our best life. So for that, I mean things that happened to us in the past that are controlling our behavior today, that are stopping us being the person that we want to be.
Like the
And
person
timelines.
who you think you're too big for your boots, or
Yep,
somebody telling you you're not good enough, or your
yep,
interpretation of what that person has said has embedded in a particular way. And it's, yeah.
exactly. That's the sort of meat of those sessions, really. It starts out with getting clarity on what they want, and then the middle session is about removing, the blocks to their belief in themselves, their self-belief, their self-efficacy, the way that they cope with all those things that we talked about, the small things that trouble you and the big things, the blocks to their progress, that I call it like an invisible brake that they've got that just seems to be holding them back. So that middle session is what I call is the real meat of the sessions that we do. You can't go straight into it, just to go straight into that work. There's got to be, work that we do together to be able to, yeah, get a level of trust together before you do that work. And I have to have a really good understanding of exactly what it is that they need and they want. Because often a woman will come to me saying that they want one thing, but after a couple of sessions, actually the issue is a bit different to what they think it is. And through the questioning that I'll do, we'll get to the what is the root problem, but what's stopping them. And then we can start doing some real work on clearing those out. And timeline therapy uses combination of hypnosis and NLP
Mhm.
to take them on a journey back to the original events that happened that they might not know of. They might not remember. They'll remember some things. Remember my dad said this or my teacher said that, or because they've really held on to that stuff. And they know that it's there. But what I'm interested in getting to is the subconscious first event that you had that feeling. that afterwards, anything that happened made that feeling stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So you've got an automatic way of reacting when anything comes up that causes you, it could be shame, guilt, anger, hurt, sadness, those key significant emotions. The first time you felt sadness, you won't remember the first time you felt sadness, but your subconscious mind will remember the first time you felt sad.
Yeah.
So we're not born sad. We're not born angry. We're not born with any guilt. We're not born with any shame. We're not born with hurt. None of us are born with these emotions. We learn to have that emotion from something that has happened or been said to us in the past, something we've observed or seen. And sometimes the interesting thing is, with timeline therapy, it may be something that is just imprinted into our ancestral line.
Yeah.
It may be something that is a past life that has imprinted right down through our DNA to cause those feelings in us now. And I wasn't really a believer in past life regression or anything before I had timeline therapy done with me. And then I learned to, I trained to become a certified timeline therapy practitioner. And now I have a completely open mind um, to that stuff because I've seen women regress to past lives and I've helped judge them through. And the other lovely thing with timeline therapy is I don't need to know the specifics of the event. You don't have
Yeah.
to tell me, oh, this happened or that happened. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the feelings and I'm interested in how we can take the emotional intensity out of that event so it loses its power over us in the future. That's what it's about. Reducing the emotional intensity so it no longer has power over us in the future. And a client said to me recently, does it mean I'm not going to be angry again, Jean? Great. I said, no, you'll still be angry. You'll still be, we can't stop these emotions coming up. That's impossible. Hypnotherapy, not a magician.
Yeah, I've had timeline therapy done a few times. So I had it when I was going for NLP coaching,
Yes,
um, 2011, and then when I did my NLP practitioner and master practitioner training, we did timeline therapy.
yes,
And just when you were saying there about how you don't jump straight into that you do sessions before and then do that and then sessions afterwards. When I when I experienced it and then when I did it as part of the training, that's how it was kind of set up. But then I went to somebody just for a timeline therapy session
all
and
right,
it was
okay.
nowhere like it didn't work and I thought it was my fault. But just when you were saying that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Why that
Yeah, yeah,
before and even when they did the timeline session, they went straight into the think of a time with this. Da, 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 da.
yes,
There was no element of when I'd had it done previously, there was an element of hypnosis to it, so it got me
yes,
into a really relaxed state before we went into that within the session. So it was
yeah.
within
But
the
here's
session.
the thing with timeline therapy that I found out later, and I need to go back and take another look at this, is there are two different types of timeline therapy. Yeah, there's the Tad Young type, which I was trained in, which uses NLP and hypnosis combined in timeline therapy. And then there's another form of, it calls itself timeline therapy, but doesn't use hypnosis in timeline therapy. So I think we're trained and certified in timeline therapy that uses hypnosis as
Mhm.
part of that foundation. But this other person might not have
I'd
had
not
the
had that.
same type of
Mhm.
certification in that. So really important if anybody's interested in exploring timeline therapy, get in touch with either Jen or I, and I'm happy to send you some information on what it is and how it works. Because for me, hypnosis, because I obviously had timeline therapy done on me, to be able to be in a semi a state of semi-consciousness is important to be able to do the work because what we want to do in timeline therapy is access the subconscious mind. And we can only access the subconscious mind when we're able to bypass the critical factor, which we call as a hypnotherapist. We have to bypass that critical factor, which is the gatekeeper to your mind that says, no, I don't want to do this, go away, I'm in charge. Your conscious, logical mind that says, no, you cannot hypnotize me, and all that stuff. No, I don't want to go there. We have to get past that into your subconscious mind, so that because it's your subconscious mind that we're asking to help us help you overcome the difficulties that you've come to us for.
Yes.
Nobody's doing anything to you. We're helping you overcome problems that you bring to us. So, you have to have a desire to have these issues resolved in timeline therapy. And that's one of the first questions that we ask. If you've been trained, as I think you and I probably have been, if we combine those two, Jen, is it okay for your unconscious mind to clear this problem for you today?
Yes. Very, very
You know,
important.
is it, is it okay for your subconscious mind for us to clear this problem today? And if your subconscious mind doesn't give us sign that that's okay, then we're not going there,
Yeah.
really. Anyway, that's how I practice timeline therapy with people. Get to know them,
Mhm.
get the trust, understand exactly what the problem is that they want to address, take them through, a really gentle process. Timeline therapy is very gentle process that is very, very clearly defined to run through the emotions that we want to clear. And then after we clear those emotions, we then do some other work on, there may be some limiting decisions that are holding you back. So we also look at, limiting decisions. So we clear negative emotions. We look at limiting decisions. In fact, what it's like is having a complete clear out all the crap. It's great. Clear out the negative emotions, clear the limiting decisions, and then we do some parts therapy work to make sure that everything is aligned. Everything is aligned to what you want it to be. Um, and then we'll set your plan for the future. So we'll look at, right, okay, let's get an action plan for the future. Once that timeline therapy session's over, the next part of the program is to define clear, actionable goals that you want to take forward so that you can step into that new identity that you then would have.
Yeah.
Um, I love that work. It's deep, it's meaningful, it's life changing. 12 weeks work. It's an investment, of course, but that's the type of work that gives me the deepest joy because the transformations are huge. Um, so that I can't remember what your question.
Well, the question had been, what was your favourite? Um,
Oh, that's my favorite. Yeah, it only took me 15 minutes to answer the question, but that's my
but
that's my
that's
favorite. That's my favorite technique. Timeline therapy. I should say timeline therapy. So,
yeah. No, we needed an explanation of timeline therapy, and it needed all the extra words that came with it. Because if you just
yeah,
said timeline therapy, people would be like, "So that is."
of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, fabulous. So what have you got coming up in your life? What's going on in Jean Fenwick world?
Okay. Well, apart from me booking my holidays and spending a wee bit of time on that, just more of the same generally. I think I've learned that, the deepest joy that I have is from connecting with women on a one-to-one. So I don't have any group programs, planned for the future. I get asked about doing other retreats and things like, the Five Senses retreat that we did together. But I've kind of put those on hold at the moment because, I want to spend time on my one-to-ones because I just love seeing the transformation that women get when they commit to, yeah, making the change that they're choosing for themselves so that they can just get unstuck. And, life's too short. We know that life is too short. We lose people.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's not guaranteed for any of us. So It's a bit like, if you're stuck and you aren't enjoying your life as it is at the moment, then my message would be get a bloody wiggle on,
Yeah, because you'll only
get a
regret.
wiggle on. You've just got don't stay where you are because you might not get that chance, and who wants to get to the end and look back and go, "Oh, I only wish I'd done that," or, if only, and all of that. Life is too short to have those regrets. That's what propelled me forward to making, the decisions to create a life that I love, which I have today. It's not always great, but I love it anyway. I can love the fact that, uh, yeah, I'm sort of rocking and rolling through it.
Yes, and you do it so with such grace.
Well, yeah, most of the time, yeah, there are days, Jen, where I'm a duvet dive type of girl, and I'll just go, no, I'm not doing it today. It's okay too. Yeah. But it's about having that resilience to keep coming back. If you've got a guidance star, if you know your North Star, if you know where you're heading, it's okay not to do it perfectly. And it's okay to zigzag off it as long as you come back to it. You
Because
know,
sometimes
as
the fun part,
yeah,
like the detours are where the excitement and joy happens. And
the learning.
people, and when you think, like if you're in business or in life, you think if you make all these steps, you're going to definitely take this next progression or whatever, and then you don't, and you take this detour to somewhere completely different, and you're like, oh, I'm meant to be going over there, but then something else happens, and that can sometimes change that North Star as well. It's like, oh,
Absolutely. And that's where the learning happens. And that, as an NLP practitioner, you'll know that one of our presuppositions is there's no such failure, only feedback.
mhm,
There's no such thing as failure, only feedback. What happened? What can I learn from it? Always be learning, always be curious. So this happened. What can I learn from it? Didn't work out the way I wanted. But always, always have the focus inside into who you are, not what you're doing, but who you are as an individual, who you are as a person, because people will see who you are. It's not so much about what you do, it's about your energy, the
yeah.
energy that you bring to a relationship, the energy that you bring to the way you do things in your lives, the energy that you bring to every little thing really is important. So,
Do
just
you,
having that.
sorry,
Pardon?
do you use values work to help
Oh
people?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Values work is a foundation. Um, I use a values elicitation exercise that uses hypnosis to elicit the values. I think you probably, as an NLP practitioner and master coach, probably use that same thing where it's not just about logically examining our values,
Yes.
but it's about feeling into those values. So I'll take people into a light state of hypnosis, and I do a lovely exercise where we go on a journey together and we decide which values we're taking.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the one that you use, but yeah, it's a really powerful one. So women will come with a set of value. We do an initial session and they'll come with their values. And then we try to get to three values, three most important core values, and I ask them to put them in the list that they think that they probably come with 7 or 8, and they'll put them in a list that they think are the most important for them. I've never had any client come and leave with the same level of importance on those values. Not to say it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
That's not to say that it might not ever happen, that it all comes the same. But I think when we really do the deep level work on values and understand exactly what they mean to us and how they're showing up in our lives, and you know, you got to, that's the thing about working with a coach like you and with me. It's not surface level work. We dig deep because that's where the value is. Diamonds aren't there on the surface, are they? You got to dig deep to mine them and
Yeah.
get really deep down into them. So the reason we can't see it for ourselves is because it's not clear, it's hidden. it's hidden usually in our subconscious mind. It's hidden somewhere in in a feel, and it often comes to the surface through a feeling that you'll have in your body in a certain place, or a color that will come in when you're visualizing something, or you're in a state of hypnosis, and the answers will just come. Oh God, I just love it. It's
Mhm.
great. You have to do the deep work. Yeah, and people will say, "Oh my God, but is it going to make me feel? Am I going to get traumatized?" And no, there's, it's not traumatic. It's healing.
Yes.
That work is healing. We have to heal the past to be able to enjoy the present and create the future that we love.
Yeah.
That's my tagline, really. Um, yeah. Mm.
So anybody listening to this, where are the best places for them to follow you just now? Where are you hanging out on the internet?
Okay. Yeah, I've got a Facebook account. I'm Jean Fenwick dot inner wealth coach on Facebook, and the same on Instagram. And I know, Jen, you'll probably put it under the notes anyway for the podcast. My website is probably the easiest way to find me, because that's just www.jeanfenwick.com.
Yeah,
You'll also find me on LinkedIn. Those are the places that I hang out and post notes.
your wisdom.
Oh, thank you for the chat. It's been great, Jen. Really enjoyed it.
I, I always love chatting to you. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, and hopefully you will come back again and we can chat some more about something else.
Yeah, that'd be great. 5 months' time, Jen. I'll forward plan it in the diary then, eh?
I look forward to that.
Oh, good stuff. Thank you.